Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome back to the Geopart Way, our grand adventure from the town of Bridgnorth in Shropshire down to the city of Gloucester, in Gloucestershire of course. Today all of it will be in the county of Worcestershire. It's a short section today. It's only about 8 kilometres, around about 5 miles. A section from the village of Martley, which is where we finished last time and where I currently am, here in the churchyard. But I'm going to go on to somewhere else here in Martley before we head south from here, down to the village of Nightwick there on the River Teme. Next time in part 7 we've got a huge adventure to do because I need to walk from Nightwick all the way to Malvern Link, mainly because of transport reasons. I'll catch the bus to Nightwick and then I can walk to Malvern Link railway station and catch the train home from there. So what I've done today is I've driven to Nightwick, left my car there, I caught the bus from Nightwick to the city of Worcester, and then from the city of Worcester I've caught a bus here to the village of Martley before we start our adventures. Beautiful countryside, beautiful day. It's going to get up later on about 22 degrees. We should have full sun for pretty much most of the day. Lots of geological adventures as well. We're going to be going over in the direction of the primary school in a moment. It's not open, there's going to be no children involved, but there's something there that they've got close to where the playground is. So I'll take you over there, and a couple of other sites of interest, in geological interest, to do with the Geopart Way. Now, just to recap, last time I mentioned about the Malvern line, no, not a railway line, but a line of rocks, which goes from Stourport on the Severn, heading south towards the city of Gloucester. Now they're Precambrian rocks, or rather they were formulated in Precambrian times, the initial parts modified over many years. Precambrian, well, that dates between a mind-boggling 500 to 4,500 million years ago. What's also incredible in terms of blowing your mind with the number of years in terms of the geology is that that period of time makes up 7/8 of the entire history of our planet. So only 1/8 of the planet has come after Precambrian times. The other thing about Precambrian, because of the age of it and because there's been modifications to the rocks after that period of time, Triassic, Jurassic and all of that has come after, sedimentation lying on top, forces crushed from either sides, tectonic plates, volcanic activity, ice ages, all that type of thing. It has meant there's very, very little fossil evidence from the Precambrian, so it makes it difficult to date it precisely. But it's certainly, you can take it from me, it's very, very old, and we'll be walking a line of it off the Malvern line as we head south in the direction of Malvern Hills. We won't be in the Malvern Hills this time, we'll be doing that next time as we go from Nightwick south over the Suckley Hills into Malvern, the northern part of it. There is a big hill today, it's called Ankerdine Hill, so I'm looking forward to that. There should be some nice views from the top of there. Anyway, let's head in the direction of the primary school now, here in the village of Martley in Worcestershire, to start our Geopart Way walk. Well, this little area here next to Martley School is an absolute gem. It was founded by one Dr. Robert Newton, who was a science teacher at the school. Thank you, Dr. Robert Newton. Bench there dedicated to him. It's a brilliant exploration and tells you the history of the geology from here and up to Bridgnorth and down to Gloucester, focusing on here to do with Worcestershire, of course, where we are at the moment. So on the map now, I'll insert it so it's a bit closer. We're here at Martley, and you'll see to the right of that we have the Triassic rocks, namely what we've got down there, the red sandstones. You'll be familiar with those if you ever go to South Devon, like Dawlish, where the railway line is, for example. You've also got Silurian, the marine, from when we were under the sea here. And what I was talking about there, the dark purple line extending down to Malvern, which is the Precambrian rocks which form the basis of it. The other thing about this, it has been a little bit neglected over the years, I think, but there's still a lot here. It's well worth exploring. If you ever come to Martley, seek it out, head over the direction of the school, and it's slightly to the left. I've dropped a pin on the OS map, so hopefully other people will be able to see it from that as well, to see the location, because there are no signs to it. But there's like a bench over there where all of these rocks are laid out. They've got some bigger pieces, they've got some examples, great examples of Oolitic limestone, which we're familiar with, of course, in the Cotswolds. Huge great pieces of red sandstone, some lovely pieces of quartz, some igneous rocks as well. You name it, it's got it here. This is an absolute delight. It's also in an orchard here at Chantry. Some great examples of quite rare Worcestershire apples and pears and plums as well. What a fantastic start to our Geopark Way today here in Martley. A couple of other things to point out on this great notice board here is the Aberley and Malvern Hills Geopark, which is what we're walking from. Starting from there, Bridgnorth down to Gloucester. So we're somewhere in the middle here, over here at the moment. There's the River Severn, there's the River Teme, that's the Malvern Hills. There, Gloucester there, May Hill down there. So there's that, it tells you more about that. Gives you a great deal of information about the geological periods. I won't go into details about those. I'll include a slide of the photograph of that, so if you want to know more, you can just pause it on the video and have a look. But it does tell you about the fossils that have been found in this area. Many corals have been found, which is indicating back to the Silurian and marine times. Also brachiopods, cephalopods, algae, crinoids, gastropods and trilobites, all just in this area here around Martley, which is revealing the history of the geology. Just wonderful. So I've come up from Martley village centre, from where we were with the church and the school there, where you had that brilliant garden there with the geological features, to a place called the Nubbins. Actually this, one of the rare occasions here on West Country Wanderings, we're on private land. This is not a public right of way, but don't worry. It is authorised in terms of the Geopark Way. It's known as the Nubbins Visitor Centre. There's an interpretive board just there, so although it sits on private land, it's not actually used for anything because we've got ferns on that side and a huge rock outcrop here. This rock outcrop is 700 metres long. It has lots of interesting features which I'll show before we start our walk proper. It's actually from the Triassic period, so 250 million years ago. It's obviously quite newer than the Precambrian foundations of the northwest Malvern line, but still red sandstone. In fact, this particular sandstone is known as Bromsgrove sandstone, and it's very suitable for building, although it does wear over a period of time, as I saw earlier when I was at Martley Church there. has been quarried over a number of years, probably many hundreds of years. They think actually originally it was quarried out by hand, or certainly by using very simple tools. So yeah, amazing feature here on the edge of the village of Martley. Now these sandstone rocks here are part of a pre-building mountain building period. This whole area was known as the Worcester Basin, centred on the city of Worcester. Of course, Worcester wasn't actually built when all these rock formations being done, and there was a rock formation known as the Variscan Orogeny, O-R-O-G-E-N-Y, which helped form these red sandstones here. Don't worry, I'm not going to go in the technical details, but if you do want to know, I'll leave a link in the description of today's video which will tell you all about it. But yeah, Variscan Orogeny. The other thing is to do with a river that once passed through here. Yes, it wasn't Sabrina or the team that we're walking to today. It was another one which started in a different country. I'll tell you more. Now, I just read about this river on the interpretive board. I had not heard of it before. It's called the Budliness River. Budley, presumably as in Budley, Salterton, but it didn't originate in Devon. In fact, it originated somewhere much further south, in fact, in present-day Brittany. Now, you have to imagine that France and England were linked at that time. There was no English Channel. And this river didn't travel south. It actually travelled north through the southern part of Devon, going up through my area, West Country Wanderings, here through Worcestershire, and then it travelled on. It went up into the northwest, into Cheshire, and ended up in what is the present-day North Sea. Yeah, the Budliness River going through the heart of Worcestershire at one time, many millions of years ago. Another little feature here of the Nubbins and the sandstone, these white streaks, I don't know if you can see them where they are, somewhere around there, because the mirror, so the LCD screen is always reversed, so it's difficult to know. So you probably see some white streaks there, somewhere around there. I'll do a close-up little clip of it. But yeah, that's indicating acidic activity. No, nothing to do with acid rain. It's actually to do with deposits of calcium carbonate. Now, there aren't calcium carbonate in the red sandstone, so they've actually come from somewhere. Well, where they come from? Well, red sandstone is porous, so it's a porous material, and it hasn't actually come from the rain from the sky. It's percolated up from the ground, so it's water that's percolated up through the ground, come out of the red sandstone and left those white marks there. Now, that calcium carbonate is thought to have come from limestone, either further south in the Cotswolds or further in the north, into the northwest. They don't exactly know how, but yeah, really odd, isn't it? So the water percolated down in the limestone regions, goes into the bedrock, and here it rises up through capillary action, making its way out through the porous red sandstone. Incredible. What amazing places, the Nubbins, here at the start of our Geopark Way walk today. A couple of other things about the red sandstone. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but the red indicates oxidization of the rock from when it was in desert conditions. The other feature you'll see are these little lines or grooves or banding known as cross bedding, and that's from when you have these river patterns, sometimes from the seabeds where you've got movement of sand and pebbles, and you get sudden sharp shifts of movement, giving those cross banding effects here in the sandstone, giving an indication of what this rock has been through over 250 million years. I've come round now to another location on the outskirts of Martley village. This is the Martley Rocks heritage site or visitor site. Unfortunately, it's not actually on the Geopark Way. Neither is it marked on the map. Indeed, it's also not on a right of way. The land that's all to that side of me is private. In fact, I've actually had to walk along a private track along there to get to it. But we are just off the Worcestershire Way, which we'll be meeting later on in the video again, but I will be returning to the village to start the walk proper. But I do think if you do have time and you're walking the Geoparkway, I highly recommend a visit here, as to the other places that we've seen en route today. And I will do descriptions. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do the map reference to all three of them that I've covered around Martley. So this here is Martley Rock. Now this area about 170 years ago was quarried for roadstone. What you have is Martley Rock. It's made up of two types: Precambrian, 700 odd million years ago. Yeah, a mere trifle, isn't it? And the Martley Quartzite, which is about 450 to 480 million years ago. Yeah, young spring chicken sort of thing, which is composed of grains, quartz grains, which were probably sedimented on the base of a sea. Now, what you need to understand about the Malvern Hills area, and this is quite mind-blowing really, is that the land here originally was on the south of the equator. Yeah, you heard that right. So what we're currently on, effectively, I know it's been shaped and formed and rejigged, and pressures and volcanoes and ice age, oh, I know all that stuff. But the actual plate, the solid bedrock, was actually south of the equator. And because of plate tectonics, plate tectonics movement, it's been shifted through the equator to the north, to where we are here in West Country Wanderings land, currently in Worcestershire. But yeah, isn't that just incredible, isn't it? So yes, that's how those rocks were pre-formed before the other activity around here. Now what you do have here is one great big long trench. And this trench shows you the timeline of the rocks that we've got. So you've got interpretive panels. I won't go into too much detail. You really need to come and see this for yourself. It's incredible. It really just blows my mind, the age of the rocks that we have here and how it's all just laid out, but I will briefly show you some of it. Now the Silurian period meant that there was a great deal of faulting in the area, because over there you've got Silurian sandstones. Here, where is it? Back there, where we were, that over there is the Nubbins, where we were, with that escarpment of Triassic sandstone, so that was there. Then you've got some more Silurian, but this time Silurian limestone, before it picks up again with another band of Triassic sandstone. So you've got these interweaving bands, mainly due to folding and compression of the rock, all laid out in front of us in the landscape here around the village of Martley. Now these trenches are incredible. They are a timeline through the rock. So here we're starting off in the Precambrians. This is back 700 million years ago. And as we head down here, we go through mudstones. Down there you see the rock getting increasingly pinker. So that's going into the Silurian. And then you've got the Triassic red sandstones that we saw back at the escarpment over there. All just that one down, just by somebody sliced a trench through here, and all the rocks are laid out in a wonderful slice of timeline in terms of geology. Absolutely amazing. So this is some of the Precambrian Carboniferous there, 700 million years ago. There it is there. Somewhere should be coming into focus now. A bit further on we've got the Carboniferous, about 480 million years ago. This is known as the Hales-Owen Foundation. Well, there was coal mines, wasn't there, in the Black Country. Hales-Owen is obviously further to north in the heart of the West Midlands there. You can see that's like a darker colour there, and it's well on its way to becoming a piece of coal. And that's all laid down there in the trench. And then the sandstones, which we've seen before, won't pick those up. I'm sure you're familiar with those, that we've come across many times here on the Geoparkway. Now we're going to start the walk proper. Yes, after all that excitement with the geology around the village of Martley here. Sorry for the extended bit of geology, but this is what the walk is all about. So it's well worth picking this out. We're going to pick up a line of the Worcestershire Way, head into the village again, make our way south. we've come to a crossroads now. I've just come off the road from the left, which has come from Lower Hollins Farm and the Geopark Way where we went through Upper Hollins Farm. We need to go right now, just to, well, it's obviously clearly marked Nightwick of the road, but we're only walking along the road for the short way. The road behind me goes on to Barrow Green. There's actually a fort of Barrow, but there doesn't appear to be any right of way to go on the top of it. Well, according to my trusty OS map, as we make our way south to the city of Gloucester, we've been following the Geopark Way. Been fantastic markings so far. There's our Geopark Way marker, but at this point here we join another footpath, and that's the Worcestershire Way, which is coming down from the far north of the county here in Worcestershire, and it'll be following us for a bit more. Well, I think we follow it till we get all the way to Nightwick, and we may join up with it later on. The walk, the Worcestershire Way one, ends somewhere in Malvern. I'd love to hear from you if you've done any of your own geological walks. And obviously the other big one here in the West Country Wanderings region is the Southwest Coast Path, specifically the Jurassic Coast section between Exmouth, and it continues on there towards the town of Poole in Dorset. It's an amazing piece of coastline. We've touched on it a few times. I was at Budley Salterton, not there, around Lattram Bay with those huge red sandstone stacks there in the English Channel. I hope to return to that section of the Southwest Coast Path in the not too distant future. Unfortunately, this time of year it's quite difficult getting to Devon and Cornwall because the likes of the M5 and the road, the trains, they're all a bit jammed up, and accommodation down that part of the world tends to be, well, a little bit pricey. But we're going to continue on our walk here on the Geopark Way in Worcestershire as we make our way south to the city of Gloucester. Wind pump there, you used to see them a lot along the Severn Valley and the Severn Vale. This one here is tucked up in a dip above the River Teme, but it's lost its sails long ago now, so it's no longer in use, but it's still standing strong. Now, there are a few other places with geological features here in West Country Wanderings, well, many of them of course, but one of them is around the town of Brixham, the area where West Country Wanderings was born, of course, when it started in nearby Dartmouth. But there, which a place that I think gets overlooked by visitors to Brixham, and that's St Mary's Bay. It's not very well signposted from the town centre, but it's a gorgeous section of the Southwest Coast Path. Now, there used to be a holiday park there. I think it was Pontins, which closed quite a few years ago now. So people were more aware of it then than they are these days. There's some newer properties that have been built around there. Some of them fetch quite a lot of money with stunning views there. Amazing geological formations in the cliffs there around the coves of St Mary's Bay. I can highly recommend that. And moving inland, you've also got features in the Cotswolds as well, particularly around Crickley Hill, which has been a human settlement for many times. Crickley Hill is on the old Roman road heading out of the city of Gloucester, where we're heading to here on the Geopark Way, in the direction of London. Let me know if you can think of any other ones in the area I cover, anyway, from the north part of Worcestershire down to Land's End, that you found on your own walks in the area. Well, back to the here and now here in Worcestershire, and the views. Well, I don't have coastal views here, but I've certainly got views of our Malvern Line, our geological feature. There's Ankerdine Hill, where we're heading across the top of shortly, or will be, and then it goes on there, Sutley Hills, which we're heading next on Geopark Way 7, and then the Malvern Hills over there. So it's all spread out before us. I have to say, I know I've mentioned this before, but I am really enjoying this walk. I can't recommend it highly enough. And all the way today from Martley and following the Geopark Way has been very, very clearly marked. No obstacles at all. No problems with bramble or nettles today. It's all been clear right through. Some of the fields have been cut recently because obviously it's that time of the year now. And yeah, no obstacles that we have experienced, particularly in, dare I say it, Shropshire, which is a bit notorious for their public rights of way, sadly. But here, Worcestershire, fine. Hopefully it'll be fine in both the counties of Herefordshire and Gloucestershire as we make our way south to Gloucester. Well, I've just come across this most amazing find in the field as I was walking across there. Unfortunately, it's going to be too heavy to get home. Yeah, no, it's not an episode of the Detectorists now, but I've just put it on the post on here, just by this gate post. I'll just go and get it and I'll show you. Look at this. It very much links into the Geopark Way, and I think it's a huge piece of quartz. Rose quartz. Now, I remember finding a piece like that when they were building the M5 back in the early 1970s, just down there in Gloucestershire. But yes, a magnificent piece of rose quartz here along the Geopark is geological, but in the Geopark Way. Unfortunately, it's too heavy to put in my rucksack to carry on the walk with, but I'm just going to leave it by the side of the field where I found it. But I thought I'd show you. Amazing. As I said in my monthly vlog, I'm doing less videos this month. There'll probably be only about 8 or so, maybe 1 or 2 more, just see how it goes. But I've got other things to do this month, August, and obviously I can't travel further away for reasons I've already mentioned. But there will be a couple of other walking ones, if you do like your walking ones. Hoping to do another one in my Cotswold walk soon. Not sure where that'll be from yet. Got a couple of ideas, so look out for that. In fact, if you want to know in advance before it comes out and get some behind the scenes photographs of it, then you can always have a look at my Facebook group. Free to join that. And that's called West Country. That's all one word, West Country, then new word, Wanderings. Have a look at that, and then you can see the updates on there. Also hope to do one on the coast around North Somerset in the Cleveland area as well. Can never resist a pile of dead wood when I'm filming. This reminds me of when I was doing my monthly vlog, not last month, a couple of months ago, when I was also here in Worcestershire at a village called White Ladies Aston. You'll have to go back and look at that one if you want to know what the meaning of that village's name is. But yeah, this is a really delightful walk. So we're sharing it again with the Worcestershire Way, which starts in the far north of the county, north of Bewdley, and finishes somewhere in Malvern. I can't remember exactly where. So if I can find that and show you on the map. But it's about 34 miles long, the Worcestershire Way. And it kind of parallels the Geopark Way, but not completely all the way. And obviously we'll be continuing on south from Malvern down to the City of Gloucester. But I'm really enjoying the walk here today from Martley to Nightwick. Now, I think last time I might have pronounced it wrong. I might have said Knightwick on Teme. There is a place called Knightwick on Teme, which is near the town of Tenbury Wells, also here in Worcestershire. But there's also a town called Knighton in, now let me get this right, is that the one in Herefordshire? There's also Kington, and I can't remember which one is which. Kington, one of them's in Wales, one of them's in Herefordshire. I'll put that in below because it always causes confusion, not only to me, to other people as well. And they're actually quite close by. The Welsh one is not that far away from Hay-on-Wye, but they're close together. But yeah, it's Nightwick we're definitely going to today on the River Teme, but it's not called Nightwick on Teme. But there, this countryside here, just follow the camera around, and I'll show you the view over this gate here. Well, I told you it was a good view, didn't I? Yeah, so this is Ankerdine Hill, which is where we're heading before we dip down into the village of Nightwick by the River Teme now. But yeah, we need to climb to the top of that where there's a viewpoint and a nice picnic area, I'm led to believe. Well, from the maps and what I've read online. Well, I'm currently in the woods climbing up Ankerdine Hill to get to the top. I think we've got a bit of a crest where there's a couple of cottages, and then we climb up again to reach the peak there where there's a picnic area. Hopefully be able to sit down there and just chill out. But it's nice and cooling here through the woodland. They've been doing some clearance work through the woods here, but it's still a really nice spot here. So on Ankerdine Hill, which has got beautiful views over there, over the River Teme valley, as it stretches across way back to the route that we've passed really, back to places like Shelsley, Beauchamp, beautiful Teme Valley here. On this glorious day in August, it's not too hot, but I'm really enjoying the walk. Anyway, this here, as you can see, is Ankerdine Common picnic place. It's really interesting board this because it gives me a few facts which I wasn't even aware of. In Worcestershire alone, so Worcestershire obviously makes up one of the counties of the three counties of Herefordshire and Gloucestershire being the others, and there are 4,604 kilometres, around about 2,600 miles of public footpaths in Worcestershire. So I think there's something like, I'm sure I read somewhere, there's about 7,000 miles in the whole of the three counties if you add in Herefordshire and Gloucestershire. That's a lot of walking. I don't think I'll be able to cover all of those footpaths anytime soon. But this is a delightful spot here. As you can see, it's got, I think, fairly newish picnic table here. There's some parking spots here, so it's free to park here. But yeah, it's better if you do it on a walk before we make our way down to Nightwick down there by the banks of the River Teme. But yeah, super walk here. It does say in the springtime that you've got wild garlic parts that carpet all around the edges of it, which must be an amazing sight. And obviously, as we go into autumn over the next few weeks, all the trees that we've come through there will be bursting with colour as well. The other great thing about this site here, Ankerdine Common here in Worcestershire, is that the woodlands are managed not only for the natural habitat of the trees, which of course is good for the air quality, but also for the dormouse that live in this area. They have their big black eyes, don't they, and brown fur. And this is a brilliant natural habitat for them here on Ankerdine Common. And to that effect, there is a short half-a-mile circular dormouse trail here on the common. Won't have time to do that today, but obviously if I do see a dormouse, I'll certainly include it in the footage of today's walk. Let's make our way, continue along Ankerdine Common, and then heading down into Nightwick to finish this section of the Geopark Way. It says there's a picnic place up there, so I'm going to stop up there for a drink. And there is another alternative. So this is the Geopark Way, official Geopark Way on the left, passing the picnic place, and then continuing down through the woods down to Nightwick. But I think possibly we might be able to do a little detour on the right to take in the view. I'll see how much time we've got. Well, I've now left the picnic area. Lovely spot there, nice and quiet above the River Teme, although because of the trees you can't see that much of a view. I'm not sure if there's another viewpoint along here. The map on the notice board back there seems to indicate that there is, so let's continue along here. This is back on the Geopark Way. I did mention a bit before I stopped the picnic area that there was a turn-off viewpoint, but that seemed to drop down the gradient, down the contours, so I didn't want to drop too much and then only to find I had to make my way back up again. So I thought I'd carry on along here for a bit and see if we can see a better viewpoint. It's quite a sheer drop down that side. Looks like it used to be a quarry down there. But yeah, narrow ridge here on the top of Ankerdine Hill. So this is the viewpoint here. We've got another picnic table. No one else here. There's no car park next to this one. Not that there was anybody near there where I was earlier either. But nice views across there on the other side of the River Teme. We won't be heading that direction because that's looking west into Herefordshire. That's looking towards places like Bringsty Common and Bromyard Common. There's Also a National Trust place there at Brockhampton, which is highly recommended. Wonderful place with a moated gateway. Beautiful orchards around there as well. But yeah, stunning views from up here. Return myself away from the beautiful views here at Ankerdine Hill. We're going to make our way down now to the village of Nightwick. Down here, so leaving the picnic table there behind. I didn't actually use that one because I just sat down the other one. Down there, and then we turn right down the track there, which winds its way down steeply through some woodland down into the heart of the village by the Talbot Hotel. So the land drops down very, very steeply at this point through the woodland. Not turning right there, not sure where that goes to. Back in the loop, back to the picnic area, I would think. But down here, still on the Dormouse Trail and the Worcestershire Way, as well as the Geopark Way. So we make our final descent down to Nightwick. It looks like there used to be a house in the woods here. Sadly, no longer. Just some brick sides left. And some metal shuttering there. Corrugated iron. And some bricks left behind in the base of the foundations. Don't know when that went, quite a few years ago I would think. Anyway, our footpath continues along here, and then we dip down for a short section of road, which I won't film because it's a fairly busy road, cars speeding down the hill, and we'll stop and do a final bit by the Talbot Hotel and the River Teme. I always love seeing blackberries on the hedgerows at this time of the year. It's just too good to resist, isn't it? I'm trying to look through the viewfinder. It's difficult to get perspective, but yeah, I think we're going to have one of those, aren't we? We've now arrived in the charming little village of Nightwick. I'm in the pub hotel, the Talbot here. Just managed to get a drink. That down there is the River Teme. I've just been watching a cow and a calf just have a drink out of that. There's a couple of swans there with their cygnets as well, which is really delightful to see. The cow and the calf, I think they were a bit timid, so they saw my camera. They just disappeared there. I've really enjoyed Geopark Way 6. I've forgotten which one we were on then. 6, isn't it? Yeah, I thought there was a lot to see around Martley, which I didn't have. There's a fly around me. To see at the beginning there with those extra bits, which are a little bit hidden, has to be said. And all of them are on private property, well-ish. So yeah, have a look out for the description of those if you want to do the Geopark Way. Highly recommend you visit one, or if not all of them if you've got time. I found it very, very beneficial because it brings the whole story of the Geopark Way. Obviously I've read bits of it and you know bits of it, but when you actually see it, when you saw that trencher, that was amazing. And that amazing cliff edge there, which was obviously red sandstone, which was quarried. Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. Hope you enjoyed it today. Just a little bit to tell you about Nightwick. There used to be a railway station here in Nightwick, and we'll be walking over to that in Geopark Way 7 next time, which will take us from here. It's going to be a big one, so I'm going to catch the train to Worcester, I think, from where I live in Gloucester, which is pretty straightforward. Bus station, bus to here, Nightwick, and then we're going to walk to Malvern Link. It's going to be quite a hike. I think it's about 12 to 14 miles, and obviously there's a station at Malvern Lake and I can catch the train home from there. So that's the plan for next time. It's going to be a lot to see. We'll be going over Sutley Hills, of which I know nothing. I've never been to the Sutley Hills at all before, and they'll be reaching the kind of northwestern corner of the Malvern Hills, of which I am a lot more familiar with. And then we'll start our adventures crossing over that till we get down to places like Ledbury and Newington in Gloucestershire. So yeah, lots still to come here on the Geopark Way, lots still to see in terms of rocks as well. Hope you enjoy the geology along here. In terms of churches, when I arrived here this morning, I was waiting for the bus, a little bit of wait. I'd missed one bus. I arrived a few minutes late to the bus I'd planned because there was a road diversion around Malvern. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. I had about an hour to spare, so I walked to the chapel. There is a little cemetery with a chapel. Now, it says in the notes that the church was lost here. I don't know quite what that means. How do you lose a church? Well, there's no remains of it anyway. But there is a church which I did pass on the walk down the hill there just now, which I'm not sure what church that is. It has a spire. It's certainly marked on the OS map as a spire. It possibly was a Roman Catholic church because it's of newer design, so perhaps that was a Roman Catholic one. It's now a private residence, so don't try and go in that one there. But yeah, there was a delightful chapel there, but what happened to the original pre-Reformation, all that, I have no idea. Don't even know where it was, but that's it for today. Lovely village of Nightwick, nice and chilled here. Just have been enjoying my drink before I head back home. Until next time on West Country Wanderings, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.
Woo!